All right, welcome to another episode of Trip Report. I got my buddy Will back here again. Do you remember him from the episode where he talked about his native ceremonies with psilocybin? We're going to talk today about 5-MeO DMT. We both were awarded the opportunity to participate in a research study for veterans with 5-MeO. So they had done brain scans pre and post to determine the changes in the brain, specifically for veterans with PTSD and TBI. All I can say is it was the most profound psychedelic experience I've had in my entire life. Nothing came even close to touch it. And I will do a solo cast about it, but I want to talk to a few other veterans that experienced it first so I can hear their account of it, because for the little bits and pieces I've talked about so far, we've had quite varying accounts with the medicine. So with that, welcome back, Will. Let's get into it.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah.
I want to say I completely agree that nothing came close to this experience. I mean, we talked about the psilocybin and the Wonka ceremony. That's its own thing, and it was beautiful, and I will never take anything away from that. But this was beyond it was holy shit. It was so much.
There aren't words.
There's no words for it. And going in again, it was Colin invited me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" Yeah. I'm always searching. I'm always trying to find a way to do better, to fix stuff,
Yeah.
And so this was an opportunity to go, and just like the mushrooms, I was very, very unschooled, very naive, very rookie to 5-MeO. I had no idea what it was. I hadn't heard of it until Colin told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Googled it like a day, but I had already said yes, so I was like, fuck, like I already signed up. Like, what am I going to do? Like, and I was like, oh, the God molecule and all this, like, oh shit. Like
The
that's
most potent hallucinogen known to man.
right. It's like, okay, I guess that's what we're going to go do. And that's what I did. It was, man, we got to the location, met the facilitators, very welcoming, very warm, very just, you could feel like they're like wise wizards, like they're just, amazing humans right off the bat. We did those brain scans like you were talking about, just to kind of get the baseline. And then we're going to do another brain scan after we did the 5-MeO. But after that first brain scan, they took me to another room. I laid down on a bed, and with the 5-MeO, the way their protocol is set up, there's 6 different vape pens like you would for like a weed cartridge, right? Ranging from 1 to 6, 1 being like very low potency of the 5-MeO, and 6 being, hey, this is like a full blast dose of 5-MeO. And, they start you off and they ask you, hey, do you want to, you take a puff of pen 1, you start there, and they say, do you want to repeat, linger, or increase? And I love that, because I took the first one, I was like, I don't feel anything, let's keep going, and they're slowly introducing it in there. And I think it was by maybe pen 3, I was like, whoa, what's happening? Like now my body is buzzing and I'm starting to feel, things are coming up. And by the time I got to pen 4, I found a dark place. I found a really dark place that I had no idea was inside of me. The way I describe it to people is, I imagine like the biggest, grandest library you've ever seen, like the Grand Library of Alexandria, just massive room, right? This so tall and big and vast, except it was completely dark, completely empty. And right there in the middle, I saw baby me. I saw child Will Tovar. And I was just looking at him like, whoa, what is this? And I remember telling the facilitator, like, because they're also like writing while you're there, just like what you're sharing and what's going on. And I was like, I feel so sad right now. I feel so sad. And they do a very good job of like, walking you through it, asking questions. And then again, here's this pen at my mouth again. By now we're at pen 4, and it's again, linger, increase, repeat. And now I'm in this dark, sad place. Like, fuck, like, let's go. Like, let's increase and let's keep going. It was just, it was the deepest sadness I'd ever felt. I'd never felt sadness like that. I'm looking at this little boy who's all alone in this dark room. He's sad. He's lonely. He's not connected. He's reaching out. He's looking for anyone to help him. And it was really hard to look at that. It was really hard to look at that. Because it was me, but it wasn't me. It was like baby me, And I'm a dad now. And all I could think was like, dude, go pick him up. you know, you have a son. You hold your son all the time. You love your son so much. Pick this little fucking kid up, you know, go over there and grab him and hold him. And that's what I did. I went over and I picked myself up and I held myself. And it was so sad, man. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And I know I'm holding me, but I'm not. I'm holding him. And in that moment, I loved him and I hugged him and I said, like, I got you. And I felt him like reach out back and hug me back and almost like, thank you for holding me. Thank you for picking me up. Again, increase, linger, repeat. And I'm like, man, let's repeat this. Like there's like unfinished business here. And that's what I really like about that protocol, because I've heard people do DMT and they just blast off, right? And then you come back, you're like, what happened? Like, I don't know. It was crazy. In this case, I wasn't at Pen 6 yet, but I was deep enough where I could navigate these things. I could walk through this dark room. I can hold myself. I can talk to myself. I can feel all the things that were coming up. And so I repeated that and it was just holding myself, you know, and it was so much love in that moment, which is wild to say, because growing up, I always had an issue with, like, I talked really shitty to myself, right? My self-talk was like, you piece of shit, or, you suck, or, you can't do this. And so that's the only way I've ever talked to myself. And this was honestly the first time in my 35 years of life where it's like, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'm saying I love you to myself, but I'm also saying I love you to the childhood me. And in holding him, it was just so much love that I had no idea that was in there. But at the same time, so much darkness that I had no idea was in there. So it was a very yin and yang moment, a very like white and black, a very dark and light. Like in one breath, I see the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then the next, I'm feeling the most love I've ever felt in my life, you know? And so it was so profound and so powerful. And again, linger, increase, repeat. It's like, all right, I think I'm good here. Let's increase, let's go.
So which pen was this this all unpacked?
I think by in between Pen 3 and Pen 4 is when I was.
That's when I got into that realm too. Yeah.
That's kind of cool to hear that's. Yeah. So around Pen 3 or Pen 4, I started feeling that. Pen 5 happened. And at this point, I'm just like holding myself and I'm just bringing in all the love. Like I could feel myself smiling. I could feel I'm holding myself and I just feel love, like pure love, self-love, which I've never felt before, you know? And it was so different to like, whoa, I love you. I love you, me. It was, I've never said that or felt that. And by Pen 6, I really couldn't tell you where I was at. I remember kind of like falling over and I was on the bed, so I kind of went to my side and I felt like I was like writhing and it was almost like a little bit painful. It hurt a little bit. And I did a few of Pen 6, but like I couldn't tell you what the message was at that point. You know, at that point, the last thing I remember was that feeling of love, like that feeling of deep, deep self-love. So I went ahead and wrapped it up, and it was so beautiful to have those facilitators there to hold me, to walk me through to when I took off the eye mask. We're wearing an eye mask during this, and to have them there, and they were crying even, you know, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry. We all went there. It was so beautiful to feel them there with me and there to welcome me back. You know, when I came back, I was like, whoa, what was that? Like, it was just so much. So from there, we went to go do a brain scan, you know, do that second brain scan. And then we walked into another room, which had they called it a zero gravity vibrational chair. There was like this IMAX screen in front, and then they had binaural beats. So you sit in the chair, you put the binaural beat headphones on, and you're looking at this massive IMAX screen. It's not a flat screen. It's like this big round dome thing. And it's playing things like cactuses or waves or snow falling. And then again, they bring the pens out. And I had no idea we're doing that again. I was like, whoa. I thought we were just going to chill and like, look at this cool screen. And it's like, nope, here's these pens again. And mind you, you don't have to do any of this, right? Like, they're not like, hey, do this. It's like, okay, like I trust you guys. I trust the protocol. I just had the most profound experience of my whole life. Like, let's do this. So you start again, you know, Pen 1, linger, increase, repeat. And as you're increasing in the 5-MeO, what's coming on the screen is also changing. So it started very like things that we know, right? The waves, the snow. I'm going higher in the 5-MeO, and now I'm in space, and now I'm in the planets, and now I'm in the universe. Again, linger, increase, repeat. Now, you know, you're in the molecules, and so it felt very thoughtful in the way that they created that protocol. But for me, being in the stars, like, oh, I know this. I had just surfed the galaxy in the Womkish. Like, I felt so at home there. I was like, oh, I was longing for this because I did. Like, that was the most fun I've ever had surfing the stars. And now I'm kind of back, you know, but in a different way. Again, it was just this overwhelming feeling of like love for myself and love for just everything, love for the universe, love for all my friends that have passed. I felt them all over again. And I think I made it to like Pen 5 and my body was like, dude, I can't do anymore. And it was so funny because like, oh, shut up, you pussy. Like, let's keep going. And then it was like, dude, didn't we just love on ourselves? Like, did you not learn anything?
What
like,
more do you need?
Yeah. Like, you just loved yourself and now you're calling yourself a pussy? It's like, you're not, dude. Like, you're fine. It's like, oh, you're right. Like, self-love. Yeah. I do remember that lesson. And it was so nice to like, hey, to look to my right, look to the facilitator. Like, I don't think I can do anymore. Like, my body was just telling me like, dude, we're done. We're done here. And for them, like, you did great. You did amazing. Like, thank you so much. And again, there's no words for it. There's nothing that like I'm talking to you right now, but it doesn't even come close to that experience of what it was. Like, there's no words to say, hey, I experienced pure love, to say, hey, I experienced the divine. I experienced my spirit. I experienced all the stardust that makes me me. You know, it was just so incredible and so profound. But, you know, we went ahead, we finished up. They gave me big hugs. There was other veterans that were doing that protocol. And the first person I saw was a guy I'm really close with, Dre. He walked in the room and I just lost it. I was just like, oh my God, like, I love this guy so much. And here he is, and gave him the biggest hug ever. And it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I think something that a lot of people don't talk about there is the integration of that afterwards. I'm maybe like a month and a half removed from that experience, and it's been tough. It's been tough to lay down at night and remember that sadness, because I didn't fix it. I just saw it. You know, it was just my first time seeing it. And so I could tap into this profound sadness all of a sudden. And it's real and it's deep. And I was at Costco and I just started crying, man, like just losing it, because I could feel it, you know, and it's in there. And I almost wish, I don't mean this, but like, you almost wish, like, man, I wish I would have never done that. My life was so much better when I didn't know that there was this darkness inside of me, which is not true. I'm glad I got to see it and touch it and explore it, but it fucking sucks. It sucks to like walk through the day, like knowing there's this thing inside of me, knowing that there's this like massive darkness and sadness inside of me that I've been running from my whole life, you know, and hiding behind, you know, girls and motorcycles and weed and doing crazy shit, you know, because I didn't want to stop. I never wanted to like look at this pain, look at this darkness, look at this sadness, look at this sad little boy. It's like, fuck it, we'll just go crazy then. And so it has been challenging for me, you know, to be honest, to just navigate normal shit. I feel like the veil between reality and this other spirit world is like very thin for me right now. You know, I don't know if any of that resonates with you, but that's where I think integration is so important, to have people to talk to about this stuff. And thank God for Veterans Walk and Talk, because I think it was like the following weekend we all went to Colin's house. There was a few of us there, and just to share. And it didn't take long for like all of us to be crying. Like, you know, it's important to just talk to people about this. And I think that's where Veterans Walk and Talk, the name is just, it's so simple, but it's true. Like, dude, let's just talk. Let's just share. Let's be open. Let's be vulnerable. Let's learn from each other, you know? So yeah, that was 5-MeO for me, man. It was, so profound, so difficult, so challenging, so dark. Yet a lot of love, but you know, it kind of left me with that, right? It left me with like, oh shit, what is this?
But at least it showed you what's there. You know what I mean? I think you can't tackle these things until you've unburied them.
Yes.
And that's kind of the most profound thing, is because I've had similar instances where ayahuasca opened a lot of doors that stayed open. And it was like, okay, I've encountered what needs to go away, and it doesn't always clear it in that ayahuasca ceremony. So it's, that you can kind of work on it sober on the way out, but I know deep in my mind that I'm going to have to get back in there.
Yeah.
And I've talked about a lot of psilocybin experiences so far where I had a lot of beneficial things to say, and, I enjoyed the music and the nature and all that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, my last probably 2 years of psychedelic experiences have all been challenging, and I don't look forward to it. Like there is zero level of recreation that I've experienced with reason. I take it back. When you said you were surfing the stars, almost every ayahuasca experience that I've had is 4 hours of absolute challenge and hell. And then it gives me a pat on the back and says, love the stars. You know what I mean? Because it's usually up in Palomar Mountain, Joshua Tree, Idlewild. So you have amazing views of the sky. And I'm the same way. There's nothing to me better than the night sky and seeing, especially when you can see like the Milky Way and like the galaxies and stuff up there. It's just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Selfless plug here. I work for an organization called Fireside Project, and they provide free psychedelic peer support for integration and active trippers. And I invite anyone, if anyone's having a moment of like, oh my God, I can't handle this, who do I call or who can help? I invite everyone to check out Fireside Project, because there's amazing volunteers there available all the time we're running 11 to 11 right now, but to just have someone to talk to. I feel like I can't stress that enough. Like, do these experiences, find stuff, touch stuff, but then talk to people about it, unpack with someone. Because if you tell your mom, they're like, oh, you're crazy. Like there's a lot of people that won't understand these things that you can't say that. How do you say to someone like, oh yeah, and I was in the darkness inside of myself? They're like, oh, what are you like shopping at Hot Topic again? Like what, what are we, but there's also a lot of wise people that are on the path to become like psychedelic assisted therapists, for example, that are educated on like the psyche of stuff, but also like in touch with plant medicine and nature, and they're kind of like a cool marriage of both. And so I just invite everyone, like if you're going through an experience or even you want to integrate after, it doesn't even have to be Fireside Project, but just talk to people, just because by yourself, like what are you going to do? And I was stubborn about it. I work for them and I didn't ask for help initially. I was just like crying all the time and having panic attacks and shit. Like it was intense, because even for me, it's hard to ask for help because you feel weak or you feel dumb or you feel stupid or like you're less than. But it's so far from that. There's power in asking for help, and then there's power in receiving it, and being open to talking with people about stuff, and maybe you find no solutions, but at least you're talking to someone, and so I just can't stress enough the importance of integration afterwards. I think it's so necessary. That's just my personal belief.
I love what Fireside's doing, and that's a resource for people. I mean, this goes to you and to any of the listeners out there that know me. If you need to talk, I'm here. You know what I mean? Anytime. Yeah. Like I'm happy to talk, because I have a lot of experience with this stuff now. I mean, 29 to 37, that's some years that I got under my belt with a lot of experience, and I've probably seen all the darkness that anybody else could see through these, and I'm happy to talk through it, situations like that. And I'm sure same goes to you. Anybody that's listening to this that has your number, if they're in a tough spot, I'm sure you're there for them as well. There's some other organizations out there. There's one called the Aware Project that I think is based out of Los Angeles. There was a San Diego version of it, and then they go through that meetup group or the meetup app. You can go on there and typically find psychedelic integration groups on there. I'm a little skeptical of them because it seems like a lot of money-making schemes for people where I get it if they're providing a space and providing refreshments or something like that. But if somebody is just going to say, pay me to sit here and talk to me about your psychedelic experience, I think it's fucked up. Like that. There's too many kooks out there that are charging ungodly amounts of money for people to experience these healing protocols. And if you find somebody that's got a $10,000 price tag or a $1,000 price tag on mushrooms to sit with them, like just find somebody else. It's bullshit. Like if they're trying to charge that kind of money, they're not in it for the right reasons. And I firmly believe that you should look elsewhere.
Agreed.
Yeah. Again, powerful stuff, man. I'm glad to hear this from you because I'd missed the integration at Collins. And so I haven't heard a lot of the other experiences that people have had. But for example, I only did the chair. I didn't do the first half that you did. I only sat through the eyes open situation there, which, like I said, was the most powerful experience I've had in my entire life.
I'm excited for that self-cast when that comes out to hear what your experience
Like I said,
was.
I want to get through some because I've had some, I feel like all the things I unpacked in ayahuasca over the past 3 years came to a culmination of what 5-MeO allowed me to let go. So I really feel like I need to get through the ayahuasca before and the hellish psilocybin experience from 2 years ago. I feel like I need to get through all of those before I can explain what the 5-MeO let go. And I know that they recorded it, the research study. I'm going to see if I can get the audio from them because I mean, it's going to be very, very personal, but I would like to release the audio of what my integration was after that 5th or 6th pen, because that is from my core, you know, what I experienced. And I'm hoping they'll let me get that to put on here. So like, again, I want to hold off until I have that because I think that'll make it that much more powerful.
Yeah. To like, here's actually my words coming out of my mouth.
I'm
right
almost
now.
afraid to hear it. You know what I mean? I know what I recalled. I know what I journaled, but I know that a lot of darkness came out in that moment and it set me on a new path. It gave me a feeling of rebirth, and I can vividly picture in my mind coming back to reality and the facilitators being there and grabbing my hand. And again, everybody in tears. It was just magical, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah. For me, it was by far the single most impactful thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, I've watched my kids be born. I've all beautiful things. I've experienced love. I've climbed mountains. I've done beautiful things. But this was like one terrifying and so difficult to go through with that darkness. But again, I've never loved myself in my whole life. It was the first time I was like, fuck, dude, I love you. And so it was like a boulder in my stream, you know, it completely redirected the direction I was going. I feel like I'm on the path. I feel like I'm headed in the direction I need to. But this was like Mount Everest just fell on my shoulders, like in one moment of just so much power, so much love, so much darkness, so much space dust, all, you know, in one morning. It's beautiful to see that other veterans were there. I think there's been like 12 of us that have gone through the protocol so far, and they're going to continue to do it. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for them, and I'm excited for you, and you know, to be able to do something like this, because not a lot of people have access to it, you know, and I just hope that changes. And I feel cool kind of like leading the way on stuff like that. So yeah, it's
the only other disclaimer I want to put in here before we wrap this up is that, you know, we both just talked about how powerful 5-MeO can be, but they're talking about the kooks again. There's a lot of people out there offering toad venom and all these other things that they're saying are 5-MeO. And we were fortunate enough to have facilitators that have been working with this for a long time, serving over 400 people, a lot of experience, because it's not uncommon for people to not be able to ground from these experiences. Because you'd said going to sleep, that you still sometimes will encounter that darkness.
Yeah.
I've heard multiple situations now where people legitimately could not fall asleep because they dropped right back into the 5-MeO trip that they were on. And these people wouldn't sleep for 3-4 days at a time and then drop into a state of psychosis and have to be medicated. So make sure you know whoever you're working with a 5-MeO facilitator, that they're legit. This is one of the few psychedelics that I would highly recommend against getting your hands on and just doing it yourself, because it is known to be one of the most potent psychedelics out there. And I think it can get away from you very quickly if you're the type of person that's just like, keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, be careful, but it's powerful. It certainly is. Again, Will, another amazing one. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. And thank you for what you're doing and putting this out there and giving people a platform to share and speak on stuff that saying it anywhere else, like, oh, this guy's crazy, you know? So
we might be a little crazy.
Yeah, we might be a little crazy, but I really appreciate what you're doing and having me in your home, and, you know, maybe we do some combo someday.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Love you, dude.
All right. Love you.
Love you guys.